Namo Buddhaya. Today from this Inagai Q&A program, we are going to discuss how to be more productive in meditations. Today I'm going to share with you 3 tips which helps you a lot in meditations, to do your meditations without stopping. First and the foremost tip that you need to practice in your meditations is to keep your expectations low. Because most of us sit for the meditation expecting that I'm going to meditate for 1 hour and I'm going to be concentrated throughout this meditation. Sometimes our mind is not ready to be concentrated. Now you know the nature of mind is it's like a monkey. It always runs here and there. It is easily distracted, easily frustrated. It is very clumsy. So if you make too much expectations, you will start to suffer because you are not having what you want in that meditation. So what you have to do is you have to know that the mind is impermanent. It will not be the same always. Sometimes your mind is very calm and quiet, and sometimes it will be frustrated and it will be more clumsy than you ever thought. So what you have to do, if you are meditating for maybe 15 minutes, if your mind become concentrated for only 1 minute, just you have to be happy with that. Do not expect too much, because the expectations stands for the sufferings. The more we expect, the more we will suffer. So keep your expectations low. When you are meditating, you always have to think that I will do my meditation as I can. Whether my meditation or whether my mind is concentrated for maybe 1 minute, it's okay. I can be happy with that. If you become happy with what you have, then you can move on. You have that willpower, you will get that willpower to move on to the next meditation. So people become frustrated when they meditate and when they not get what they want. So that is the first tip. Number 2, don't force your mind. Because the more we try to force our mind, the more our mind will be destructive. It's like a monkey. If we try to force a monkey to sit on a chair, what will happen? The monkey will not do that. It is not ready to do that. Same goes with your mind. If you force too much your mind to do the meditation, it will be frustrated and it will be panic more and more. So what you have to do not force your mind. Just let your mind to feel comfortable and relaxed in meditation. When your mind feels relaxed and comfortable in meditations, it will like to do the meditation again and again. So what you have to do is not to force your mind for the meditation too much. And that brings us for the 3rd step. It is the consistency. There are some days that you don't get any concentration in your mind, in your meditations, right? Though you meditated for maybe 30 minutes, your mind would not be concentrated. But you should not give up. You should not stop. Because if we practice this consistency throughout this meditation, one day, there will be a day that your mind will get concentrated and your mind will obey your instructions. So what you have to do? Never give up in your meditations. Do it whether you got bad results also. Practice consistency. Consistency is the key for the perfection, right? You don't want to be talented, you don't want to be clever at first in meditations. What you have to do, all you need to hang on to that meditation and do it again and again and again. One day, you will be perfect at meditations. So, practice these 3 tips and have a perfect and peaceful meditation in your life.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to discuss with you about how can we become peaceful and how can we become calm from our mind. Now we know that we are living in a world where we are constantly bombarded and constantly overloaded with information, with distractions and all of the chaos. So what happens when we live in such an environment is we become so reactive and we tend to lose our peacefulness, we tend to lose our calmness in our mind. And then what happens is our frustration, stress, and depression builds in. So how can we deal with this? And what can we do to eliminate these distractions and this constant chatter in our mind and have a peaceful mind in the middle of chaos? So today I'm going to share a few tips where you can practice in your daily life, and then you can, if you practice this, it will be a great help to find peacefulness and calm in the middle of all the chaos. So the first thing that you have to understand is calmness and peacefulness is not an outer source. It doesn't come from outer world, right? It can be found within. So no matter where you live, no matter what the place you live, no matter what you do, if you really focus on this calmness, and if you're clever enough to find that, then you will be able to find the calmness and peacefulness in the middle of all the chaos. So always remember, calmness and peacefulness should be built and should be developed within, okay? And also, you have to remember one thing, that calmness and peacefulness is not about emptying your mind, right? When you become calm and peaceful, it doesn't say that there's nothing in your mind, no thoughts in your mind, right? Thoughts may appear in your mind, right? There will be lots of thoughts and train of thoughts will be appear in your mind. But when you become really calm and when you become serene from your mind, you tend to not to react to all those stimulations. That is what the real calmness and peacefulness means, okay? Normally, when the thoughts appear, right, when all these kind of trains of thoughts appear in our mind, what happens to us is we oftenly react to them, right? We become panicked and we tend to react to them. So the reason why this happens is because we think the thoughts as us. And we tend to think that I am what I think and I am my thoughts. But in reality, thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts, right? Thoughts are just like, they're coming and going. It's like clouds, right? There's the sky and there's the clouds, right? So what is the nature of a cloud? It comes and it swarms around and it goes off, right? Sometimes the sky is cloudy, sometimes the sky is moody, sometimes the clouds are scattered here and there, and sometimes the sky is empty. So you are like the sky and your thoughts are like the clouds, okay? So there's a huge distance between the sky and the clouds. But we often think that the clouds as the sky. Sometimes when it is raining, sometimes when it is moody, we blame to the sky, right? We tend to say that, oh, this weather is not okay. The sky is always raining and it's moody. But sky is not raining. Clouds are what forms the rain, right? Clouds forms the rain. The same as that, when the thoughts appear in your mind, you can take a little step back and think, should I react to this? Should I react upon these thoughts? For an example, if an angry thought came to your mind, what should you do? Just pause a little bit and think, should I react to this? You can have a little bit of a time and think about it. Oh, this is anger. I should not react to this. This is jealousy. I should not react to this. Okay? It's okay to have thoughts in your mind. But if you want to be peaceful, you should not, and you should choose to not to react to those thoughts. So there are a few practices where we can do in our daily life to to make a little bit of a help to this peacefulness and calmness. One thing that you can do is that you can slow down your body movement for a little time period of the day. Maybe like when you have time and when you're working by yourself, maybe like you're walking, maybe like you're writing something, or maybe like you're studying. Try to maintain slow body movements. Now, why I say this? Because our body and our mind is highly interconnected. Okay? When our thoughts become panicked, our body become panicked. So in the other way, if we calm down and if we slow down our bodily movements, it will be a great help for us to slow down the thought process. Then you can take a little time and think about what comes to your mind. That is one thing that you can do. And also there's another great practice that Buddha told us to do, that is called breathing meditation. When you do the breathing meditation, you reduce these heavy loads of thoughts into 2 thoughts: in breath and out breath. In breathing meditation, all what we are doing is we are constantly becoming aware of in breath and out breath. When you do that, it's sort of like condensing your mind. It's sort of like making your mind soft and peaceful and non-reactive. That is what you can do. And also there's another thing that you can do, is to not to judge your thoughts and to be aware of your thoughts. I will give you an example. It's like you're watching a traffic pass by the side of the road, right? You can see cars and bikes and vans and buses are going, but you're not going to judge them. You're not going to stop them. You're not going to chase behind them. You sit by the road and you just watch them. Let the vehicles be the vehicles and you be you. In the same way, let the thoughts be the thoughts and you be you. When you become less reactive to your thoughts, you can find that peacefulness and calmness in your mind. So I hope you got some light about the calmness and peacefulness from this video. So I hope may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you be calm and peaceful forever.
We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course, I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiness. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness, we are chasing and we are seeking for happiness, but yet we have not found it. So, what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it, we are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from these materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So, will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him like a cartwheel following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can find the happiness. So, how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, Buddha teaches us there are a lot of things that you can do to make your mind pure. So today, I'm going to share with you a few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. First thing, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. You know, life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. So life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully. Right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad day or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. Either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So, if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around us are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number two, Buddha said, be generous. Practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. Well, in Buddhism, the generosity is known as dana. In dana, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice. Most of the time, we like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do, Buddha says, be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you gave some foods to a poor person, let's say like that. When you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy like that, you feel happy about yourself, right? Nothing can give you that happiness. Like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress, you cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself, right? Let's say after hundred of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident, I gave this food to this poor person. When you remind that, you feel happy. Even then you feel happy. That means happiness is long-lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That is one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also, we have to forgive others too. Because forgiving, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes. It's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart free. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it is for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start all over again. We all have that ability, right? We all have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay? So no one is perfect in this world. We all have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 5 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also, there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world that the Buddha teaches us. That is called Nibbana or Nirvana. That is the enlightenment. When you realize about the reality of this life, and when you remove this desire or the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply, the Nibbana means Ragakkayo, Dosakkayo, Mohakkayo, Nibbana. That means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, right, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one.
No matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, there are certain times in life we are going to make mistakes. We are going to mess things up in life. In such times, one of the most common things that we do is we hate ourselves. And this self-hatred can end up in serious situations like suicide. See how many times we say, I love you to someone. How often we say? We say it often, right? But how often we say, I love myself. I appreciate who I am. This is something that we don't do openly. See, in Buddhist practice, the first step of spreading love and kindness is to practice love and kindness or spread love and kindness to yourself. So the Buddha saw that without being filled with self-love and self-kindness, you cannot be kind to someone else. So that is why we have to learn how to be kind and how to love ourselves without hating ourselves. So from this video,
I'm going to be sharing with you few things that we have to understand and we have to practice to stop hating ourselves and to start appreciating and loving our life. Number 1, do not believe in labels. See, there are lots of labels that we have put on ourselves. For an example, your name. Your name is a label that was given by maybe your parents, and everyone start to call from that name, and it became your personality. It became who you are. Okay? Same like that, we are so good at labeling ourselves with our imperfections, with our mistakes, or with our incapabilities. But here's the thing, the more we label ourselves with our incapabilities, for an example, people say to themselves like, I am a person who is being angry all the time. Okay, I'm a person who has having a weak mindset. I'm a person who is lazy all the time. Okay, I don't have any friends. I'm not getting in with friends. Okay, I cannot be with these people. So the more you label like that yourself, it becomes your personality. And that is why we should not believe in the labels that we put on ourselves. Why? Because a label or your incapabilities or your weaknesses or your mistakes are just a thought pattern. And it is always can be changed. Okay? You can always improve. And that is why we should not label ourselves with our incapabilities and our mistakes or from our weaknesses. We always have the chance to improve and to evolve. Number 2, learn to accept mistakes. Mistakes are the proof that says that we are trying in life and we are not willing to give up on ourselves. Every great person in this world has made mistakes, and they have learned from their mistakes, and that is how they evolved, and that is how they achieved the greatness. Always remember, the mistakes will never define your character unless you define your character with your mistakes. So do not let your mistakes to define your character. Always you have the chance to improve and move on and make yourself a good person and improve yourself. Believe in it. Number 3, stop criticism. This is something that is very important that we have to focus on in loving ourselves. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop criticizing others. Now here I'm not talking about the constructive criticism. I'm talking about the negative criticism. Okay? Do not criticize others and also do not criticize yourself. Okay? Why we should not criticize others to put others down? In each and every time when we criticize someone, we give the message to our mind that we are better than them. Okay? I am perfect than them. And you set standards to yourself. Most of the time, these are not realistic standards. Okay? And when we cannot live up to our own standards, what happens to us? We hate ourselves. And that is how criticism steals the self-love and the self-value. And that is why we should not criticize anyone. And number 4, believe that imperfection is beautiful. Just take a deep breath and look into this nature. Everything has that one nature that is the imperfection. From the little plant to the great mountain, everything is imperfect, right? There is no perfectly symmetrical plant in this world. There is no perfectly symmetrical mountain in this world. Everything has the imperfection. And as humans, we also imperfect human beings, okay? And also it gives the chance for us to evolve. It gives the chance for us to be more productive and be more successful. See, becoming successful and becoming happy is not a destination. It is not a perfection, right? It is always a journey. We have to keep improving ourselves. We have to keep becoming successful, becoming happy. It is a journey that we go through in this life. So when you accept the imperfections, no matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, no matter how great we are, there will be always imperfections in life. When we accept it, we can focus, our kindness, and our love towards ourselves. And also, every single day, this is something that you can practice. When you wake up in the morning, just sit on the bed and think, no matter how imperfect I am, no matter what mistake that I do in my life, I'm not going to give up on myself, right? I keep improving myself. I keep making myself a good person, a happier person, and I will never let go of myself. This is not something that is called selfishness. Selfishness is expecting many unrealistic things from yourself, right? And then when you're not up to your standards, you start to hate yourself. And that is why when you truly love yourself, truly love your imperfections, and truly love who you are and accept who you are, you get the chance to improve and you get the chance to evolve. And these are the things that we have to keep in mind in order to practice the self-love and improve the self-value. So keep practicing these things and make your life happier and healthier. Namo Buddhaya.